precedent. I hope this is a one-off. I hope it is a one-off that Congress takes this position, but I also hope it's a one-off that a FISA application contains errors and product that is funded by a political opponent. I hope that's a one-off.
You cannot hide exculpatory evidence when you are applying for a warrant, whether it is a local sheriff applying for an arrest warrant or whether it's a secret court that is providing the permission to spy on U.S. nationals. And we now know that the DOJ and the FBI knew that this so-called Steele dossier was opposition research paid for by the Democrat Party, paid for by Hillary Clinton, and they hid this from the judge.
Here's the president's take on the matter. Quote, little Adam Schiff, who is desperate to run for higher office, is one of the biggest liars and leakers in Washington, right up there with Comey, Warner, Brennan, and Clapper. Adam leaves closed committee hearings to illegally leak confidential information must be stopped. What the president is alluding to, what must be stopped, is the leaking. Not only is it a disgrace and a corruption of the oath of office, but it is a violation of federal statute. So here's the question. Why not release the Democrat memo? The more we know, the better, right? Joining me now from Southern California, investigative journalist Kimberly Dvorak. Kimberly, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
So, Kimberly, I think that we should just release the Democrat memo. What's there to hide?
Sure, why not? We'll put the Democrat side out there, and then we can have the pundits and commentators go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and we can determine whether there was any kind of shenanigans taking place on the Democrat side. And I think that we will learn quite a lot from what the Democrats have to say here.
You're exactly right. And then Carter Page was the reason that this memo was written in the first place. He was on the radar before Trump, but before he even worked for Trump, he touted his contacts to Russia in 2013. My question is, why did they wait until 2016 to apply for the warrant in the first place? Like, the entire basis for this FISA warrant was, is Carter Page a spy for Russia? What other evidence is there that Carter Page was a spy for Russia?
Actually, Carter Page was brought onto the system because he actually started reporting that the Russians were actually trying to incorporate him into the fold, and he notified the American authorities, and that's how he was brought onto the scene. They knew that the Russians wanted to go after him. They thought that he would be a good stooge for them. He reported that, and that's how the FBI became aware of Carter Page.
Yeah, and then this application process, they have to renew it every 90 days. So they applied for this in 2016. They renewed it every 90 days 4 times now. So they had 4 warrants, total 4 warrants. Comey signed off on 3, McCabe on 1. Loretta Lynch didn't authorize it, and then deputy attorney generals did. So the kicker to me is the application didn't mention Steele's ties to the DNC or the FBI authorizing the payment to Steele in the first place, even though they knew it. Is it just a huge cover-up by the FBI?
Well, you have to also keep in mind, too, that Steele was the British intel officer, and they wanted to use him because if they used the British intel, they could get around FISA court restrictions because, of course, the British government doesn't need U.S. permission to spy on Americans like the U.S. system needs to get permissions, explicit permission to spy on an American citizen, and they have to believe that this person is a foreign agent. He's working on behalf of a foreign government, and that's a very high water mark to get. And now we haven't learned exactly whom that the Steele campaign, the Steele dossier used, and so presumably the judge that overheard this would have had to talk to the FBI and say, look, I mean, are the confidential informants that Steele is using, are they really factual? Are they really true? Do you trust them? And it doesn't appear that oversight was done. And it seems that when you're looking at the memo and you're reading the memo, at least that Devin Nunes released, they failed to cross that bar. And that, in essence, is what the big beef is here. They're not giving the judge all of the information.
Well, yeah, the bottom line here is that the application relied on Steele's uncorroborated reporting, and they concealed his anti-Trump motivations. They concealed that their intentions were clear. They wanted to keep Trump out of the White House. So this memo, it really opens the doors. We want to know what other warrants were based on this dossier, what other members of Team Trump were spied on, what did Lynch know, did Obama know? It really does open the door to all these other questions that we have.
Yeah, I mean, and I think an example here on this is we can look at, the application, and it might say 505, New York Street in New York City, just, not the actual address. But, I mean, do we know that that's where Trump Tower is? Do we know what the address is? Did the government fail to notify the judge that maybe that we were going to be, eavesdropping on a conversation at Trump Tower? And sometimes they'll just write the address, and the judge doesn't know what the address is. So what they're doing is they're failing to leave out important details that a judge would go, whoa, wait a minute. You mean you want to, eavesdrop on a conversation that's going to happen at Trump Tower? That's something that's has to reach an extraordinarily high bar. And something tells me and people I've talked to, they said that would never have been authorized by a judge. And a lot of these judges that actually okayed this have got to be fuming. And, of course, they can't say anything about it because this is all secret. And that's the problem with these secret courts, that it really just kind of usurps the power of the United States. And if you're a constitutionalist, as I am, you don't believe in the FISA courts in the first place.
Yeah, the bottom line is this memo opened the door to a lot of questions that we still don't have answers to. So I say, you know what, Democrats, release your memo. Let's see what you have to say. Kimberly, thanks.
Thanks.
Coming up.